Bum 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 bum. Hello, Savannah. Hello, Unix Rab, and all you people coming in. Virus Joe, Tyler, come on in. I'm a little bit late this morning, which means you probably already have your coffee with you. No, you didn't miss it yet. You're just in time. Just in time for the simultaneous sip. Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. All right. I hope you were fast enough. So, somebody asked me if I'm playing drums. So I am taking drum lessons by video. And it really works. I'm not sure it'll work for every part of learning the drums, but for getting started and getting the basics and having enough to practice and stuff, totally works. So video learning, at least in that context, worked pretty well. All right, I'm going to play a video from Jeffrey Toobin at CNN. He's talking about President Trump's quotes about, President Trump said something about if he were, I think if he were impeached, there could be violence. And listen to Jeffrey Toobin, we'll see if you can hear this well, talking about that statement. Let's see if you can hear it.
About what's going on here. The theme here is, I'm Donald Trump and I'll protect you from the scary black people. Antifa is widely perceived as an African-American organization, and this is just part of the same story of LeBron James and Don Lemon and Maxine Waters and the NFL players and the UCLA basketball players. This is about black versus white.
All right, now I don't know, could any of you hear that? I might have to find a better clip of it. Let me do that. So Jeffrey Toobin was saying that when the president criticizes Antifa, he's really criticizing black people because everybody knows Antifa is a black organization. What? Did any of you think Antifa was a black organization? I thought it was a white organization. How many times have we seen video of Antifa? Like 1 billion times? And it looks like it's 95% white. Now, to report that on CNN like it's a fact, now he's not a reporter, he's a legal pundit, but somebody needs to correct that, don't they? Or am I wrong? Am I wrong? And then he takes that and he lumps it with criticisms of LeBron James and football kneelers to say that it's a black versus white thing. When I watch Toobin do this, and I know that he's talking to people who may be less informed, they're going to believe this stuff, right? Is Jeffrey Toobin losing it? I mean, just losing his mind, because it looks like that, but I'm not going to make that assumption. Just in terms of how it looks like he's losing his mind, but I'm not diagnosing him medically. It feels to me like we've reached another level of Trump derangement syndrome, where they're flailing, just flailing around to try to find something that they can hurt the president with. And it's been a bad week for CNN because they are widely being accused of peddling fake news that they don't want to recant for some reason. News that other outlets have already recanted. So they're having a tough month, and the president's having a good week. And it's starting to look like just everything that CNN has been telling the public for 3 years, at least about the president and about politics, might just be all just their angry opinions. So I feel like as the president becomes more successful, which is also similar to being in less legal trouble, so as Mueller continues to come up with nothing, but Hillary Clinton is looking worse and worse because now China has her emails, what does CNN do? Because they have so clearly taken a side, and they can't really abandon their side. People don't really do that. So if they don't abandon their side, what do? They dig in and they get a little bit crazier. So, but when I look at this, the Jeffrey Toobin thing where he's accusing the president of essentially being, not essentially, but being a racist for calling Antifa or being against Antifa, which is literally trying to destroy the country. And by the way, is that too strong a statement? Is it too strong a statement to say that Antifa is trying to destroy the country? I don't know that, I feel like that's not hyperbole, right? Isn't that actually their stated objective? To get rid of borders? You know, to have anarchy and get rid of borders? That is destroying the country. So you've got Jeffrey Toobin taking the side of people who are expressly trying to destroy the country and also calling them the wrong ethnicity so that he can blame the president for being a racist and throw in some other examples. Here's what Jeffrey Toobin left down of his examples, because he said, it's just more of the same where he insults black people like LeBron James and Don Lemon. And I'm thinking, didn't President Trump just call Tiger Woods smart? If you're looking for a pattern, it looks like this. If you're black and you like the president, you're smart, according to the president. If you're black and you criticize the president, you're dumb. I'm pretty sure that's the pattern here, don't you? I mean, isn't the pattern that he's good to people who like him and he goes hard at his critics? Jeffrey Toobin, how could you miss this pattern? If a bunch of, let's say, white hockey players started kneeling for the national anthem, and maybe they are, I don't know if they are, do you think the president would say, hey, you hockey kneel, oh wait, sorry, I didn't realize you're all white. Since you're white, go ahead and disrespect the flag that I've spent my life respecting and I represent for the country as President of the United States. Oh, hockey players, go ahead. Knock yourself out. I didn't realize you were white. Does somebody think that the president is saying that? Let's test it. Let's like to see a hockey team kneel, and then let's see what the president says. How about this? How about having a famous white athlete criticize the public and criticize the president in public, just as sort of a test? I don't know who we could get. Can anybody suggest somebody? A famous white athlete to criticize the president, just as a test. Yeah, and the test would be, does the president say, well, oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were white. Free pass. You can criticize me all you want. I don't think that would happen. Do you? How could you be so dumb, Jeffrey Toobin, that you can't see the pattern? That if you like the president, he likes you back. If you don't like the president and you say so, he gives it back to you. You might even get a nickname. How can you not see that pattern? It's mind-boggling. All right. Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is somebody who has criticized the president. I don't know if he's risen to the level of being noticed. I don't know if anybody's asked the president about Steve Kerr. I will tell you that it makes me want to watch the Golden State Warriors less because of that. I gotta admit. When basketball crosses over into politics, it makes basketball a lot less interesting. Kathy Griffin. What did he say about Kathy Griffin? By the way, did you see Kathy Griffin's response to Milo Yiannopoulos? She tweeted a picture of her mansion. Anyway, you had to see it in context, but it was very funny. I watched Sununu and Camerota on CNN. That was good TV. That was interesting to watch. It's my friend's first time. He wants to see Dale. Well, Dale only comes out when Dale is required. Oh yeah, Popovich. But Steve Kerr and Popovich have the same thing going on, which is they're team leaders and they're sort of backing their team. Not sort of, they are backing their team. So that's a little less of a clear example. De Niro, Punchy De Niro. Yeah, Punchy De Niro. How about McCain himself? There was somebody that the president didn't treat so well. Imagine if McCain had been African American. Imagine if the president had given as tepid a response to the death of a hero who was an African American, as he did with McCain. What would people be saying? They'd be saying, well, it's obviously because he's black, even though we're watching him do it to somebody who is extremely white. So anyway, watching CNN stir up racial problems is disturbing. There's not much else going on, except I think the GDP got revised up to 4.2. The Chinese hack of Hillary's email makes the president look good, even though nobody wishes that China had those emails. But you have to ask yourself, would Hillary Clinton be beholden to China if they had all of her emails, or would they have any advantage over her? I don't know. I'm not sure that they would. It could be it's just, stuff like yoga in her emails. You never know. The Lanny Davis thing. I haven't gone hard at Lanny Davis in terms of criticizing because he's an advocate. Lanny Davis is not pretending to be even. So when someone who is being paid to be a proponent and they're not being paid to be even-handed and they come on TV and they act like a proponent, I'm not the one who's going to say, hey, your facts are all wrong or you're being absurd, because that's sort of what he's being. Rouhani is being. Is that true? Sorry, I have to check that to see if there's something about Rouhani. I don't see anything like that. Iran's parliament gives president a rare rebuke. This is about Iran. Iran's parliament summoned Rouhani to answer questions on Tuesday about the country's economic crisis and then voted to reject his explanation in a remarkable rebuke of a sitting leader. Rouhani blamed the United States Wow, they were not convinced by 4 of his answers. That doesn't make sense. So Rouhani's the moderate, and he's blaming the United States, and his own government, the parliament, rejected him blaming the United States. There's something I need to understand about this that I don't. because people are on the wrong sides of this. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, he called Mika Brzezinski dumb as a rock. So the president has certainly insulted some white people. Thoughts on trade deals affecting North Korea? Well, we have to wait for the dominoes to fall. Apparently, Canada is getting serious about negotiating now that Mexico may have made a deal. And by the way, it only took 24 hours for me to see the first story of all the people who say the Mexico deal is actually bad for the United States. So you've seen those? The experts saying, sure, you have a deal with Mexico, but it's a bad deal. You knew that was coming. It doesn't matter if it's a good deal or a bad deal. You knew somebody was going to say it's a bad deal. So there's some Facebook conservatives, some conservative employees who work at Facebook who are pushing back about their internal process. So you're seeing this everywhere now. You're seeing information about the Google searches. When the president decides to make something news, he really makes something news. And it does look like the major tech companies are going to have to make a change. Some changes. Now, there's a big question that I have about all of these social media companies, which is I don't know the argument for why users can't see the things they want to see. When they explicitly want to follow somebody, when they explicitly want to see their content, I don't understand why you just can't let them see it. Now, so there's something very fundamental about what's going on that I don't understand. Is there any explanation except censorship, corporate censorship in this case, not government censorship? Is there any explanation why they won't let you see what you want to see from the people you want to see it from? And I understand that some of it would be fake, and I would be totally okay with better labeling. So I'm going to say my idea again, and let's see if you like it. Let's just use Twitter as the model. And I'm just going to put this forward as the ignorant suggestion, ignorant on my part, because I don't know why this doesn't work. Why can't you let people see anything they want, but maybe color code stuff that comes in the feed so that if something comes in and it's a certain color, you can know that it came from a source that at least Twitter's checkers don't think is credible. Now, you might look at it and say, I don't agree with them, and maybe you could uncheck it and say, I do believe in it. Or you could say, hit the filter and turn off all the ones that are coming in the shaded color, because that color is the stuff that's low credibility. Or you could turn it back on just to see which things you would have been missing. So 7% of men are colorblind. Well, there's a way to do it. Surely there's a way to do it with or without color. So I haven't heard the explanation of why that wouldn't be a good idea. Because people would still be informed that their content is sketchy. But then they could see it. It seems to me, check me on this, right? Do a little fact checking, or a logic checking in this case. What would reduce fake news faster? Not seeing it somewhere, if you could see it in other places, but you don't see it on your Twitter feed, let's say, or seeing it and seeing it labeled as fake news, and then maybe you could even click on it and find out who labeled it and why. Which would give you a better sense of what's going on? I'd rather see the stuff that is fake, labeled fake, so I can see what it is and then say, oh, it's labeled fake. I wonder why. Click. Oh, okay, this group that has X credibility says it's fake, and here's the reasons why. Or they say it's they say it's violating the rules, or here's the reason why. Scott, you're acting like a commie. Um, They lie. Fake colors will be doled out. But it seems like you could even have a process for that. So let's say there was something that had a lot of fake, that got labeled as fake news, but you didn't think it was. Well, first of all, what would you know? I mean, how would you know if it was fake news? But you could at least maybe, click on it to say, okay, I don't like this rating, or I disagree with the rating. And then people could look at the ones that are marked, but people disagree with. So it seems like you could just see whatever you wanted to see, and as long as there was truth in labeling or some attempt at truth in labeling, you'd probably be better off. You assume their intentions are good. I don't, somebody says. I don't think people's intentions are good, but I think that, if you're talking about every engineer who's working on the algorithm, I'm not talking about the leaders of the companies who have slightly different motivation than the people who are working there. So I don't assume anything pure about the motives of human beings. But I think that transparency generally gets you a better result. All right. How about movie 1 or movie 2 news? I was thinking about that myself. There are 2 versions of reality, and each of them believes that the other's reality is fake news. So it's more funny than useful, but you could actually have a movie 1 and a movie 2 filter. So you just want to see things that the people on the right think are real or the people on the left think are real. Go on Joe Rogan's podcast. I have been on Joe Rogan's show in the past. Maybe again someday. All right. Yeah, Facebook allows white genocide groups. At what point will it no longer be acceptable to say bad things about white people? Are we close to that? Because we're not there yet. Do you know Lee Stranahan's work? I know of it. If Trump says the sky is red, his supporters would say, yes, it is. You just described everybody and their supporters. Do you know what? If CNN tells you something is real, you're going to believe that too, even if it isn't. So it is not something unique. People on the left like to think that. They like to think there's something unique about the people on the right, that they're more likely to believe something that's ridiculous. I'm here to tell you that believing things that are ridiculous is a quality of being a human. It doesn't have to do with your politics, So if there's one way to know if somebody is wrong. Sometimes you can't tell. You can't tell if somebody's right or wrong. But if somebody says everything on my side is right and everything on your side is an illusion, well, you could be pretty sure that's wrong, because the illusions are certainly diversified. So somebody just left a message that says, I'm back. Well, thank you. I'm sorry you ever left. Any new foods in your diet? Not really. There's a bombshell breaking? Is that true? Let's see what CNN is up to. We'll do this in real time. I don't see any bombshells happening. Nope. Doesn't look like anything is happening. It feels like the entire page of CNN is stuff that isn't real news. It's stuff they're trying to turn into news. If you didn't see the Sununu interview with Camerota, am I pronouncing your last name right, on CNN? You have to see that, because she's trying to create news by getting him to say something about the controversy of Trump versus McCain. And he's just saying, no, I'm just on here to say good things about McCain and honor his service. And Allison, yeah. And it got really tense because she really wanted to create some news, and Sununu he just wasn't the right person for that. Because first of all, he's not Trump and he's not McCain, so his opinion of what they think of each other, I don't know how that's news, but you could turn it into news just by getting him to say something provocative. I'm sure she would have wanted him to disagree with the president, because that creates a headline, and he wasn't buying it. By the way, I think Sununu's, doesn't he have the highest IQ of anybody in government? I think I saw that a long time ago. He has an insanely high IQ, and he's just not falling into the trap. It was somewhat hilarious to watch. Yeah, it's 180. Sounds about right. He did insult CNN. That part was awkward. Even I would not insult CNN while I'm on CNN. I'm a pretty big fan of transparency, but I wouldn't insult a network that was nice enough to have me on for an interview. Your wife read my book and you were amazed. I don't know what that says about your wife, but somebody's wife read my book and they're amazed. She must be a Clinton supporter. What if social media is regulated like a utility? I used to work for the phone company, which was regulated like a utility. And I got to tell you, I was close enough to the group that had to deal with the public utility that you hear some terrible things about regulators. So the people who become the regulators are not the most capable people, and they're not always free of their own biases. So you don't want some kind of regulation that looks exactly like the regulation of public utilities. But that said, there might be some kind of public oversight, third-party opinion, feedback. Yeah, it's called regulatory capture, exactly. So over time, the regulators become captive of the industry, because the industry has lots of money, and they can flatter them, they can fly them in, they can do things for their projects. So the regulators become corrupt over time, or that's the risk, anyway. So the public might need to be, the government might need to be involved, but we don't know what that would look like that would actually work. All right. Am I blacklisted on CNN yet? Well, they haven't invited me on in a long time. But I don't know if that's because I don't have a new book to talk about yet or not. All right. Haven't heard from Q in a while. All right, let me ask you this. Do you think Q is the same as it was? Do you think something's changed with Q? Dropped like crazy yesterday? Q is the same? All right. We'll see what happens with Q. All right, I'm going to take off. I don't have enough to say today. I'm just wasting your time.